Now, in order for the aliens to take control over society, they needed consolidation or monopoly of power. And this started back in the day through a religious cult that regarded these aliens as gods. These religious cults had all the power and were the first governments. This cult is now known as the Roman Catholic Church, with its head being the Vatican. Over the ages, the Vatican formed their hierarchy of power with the royal families directly beneath them. This is how the Vatican ran the old world until America's founders broke that corrupt chain of command. In the foundation of America, we fought for certain rights, which the Vatican has gone to every extreme to undo over the centuries as they use their money and power to slowly take over America. And they have done this in modern times most effectively through monopolies, corporate monopolies, banking monopolies, and media monopolies. And at the head of all these monopolies is the Vatican. The Vatican are the globalists. The Vatican is the largest and oldest multinational corporation with its own military force, which encompasses the militaries of several large countries, namely the United States of America, under its command. The Vatican uses religion as a front to infiltrate and then control people of every country who are programmed to see them as a spiritual organization of peace, when in actuality the Vatican is the oldest, largest, and richest multinational corporate banking and military cult that goes back thousands of years. When you hear that war is good for business, nobody knows that better than the Vatican. Over the ages, the Vatican has used empires to make themselves wealthy and powerful, all the while using wars to stretch their influence worldwide. The Vatican has used the Roman Empire in this fashion, then the English Empire, then the German Nazi Empire, and last they are using the American Empire. And like every empire before us, they use our manpower and our resources to consolidate power, start wars, get rich, and then like any wealthy corporate executives with golden parachutes, they jump ship with all their money and spoils from war just before the rest of you take the fall. If you want to know more about the Vatican, just see the numerous videos I have on this channel and on Bulletproof Cyrus 13 to learn more about Roman Catholic practices and operations concerning world domination. The Roman Catholic Church has tortured, executed, and burned people alive for world domination and power. Not because the Catholic Church did not simply agree with their spiritual beliefs. The Vatican kills everyone else with the 0% tolerance for anyone who doesn't conform to their will. Everybody needs to wake up to this point. The Vatican tortures and executes people just the same as any military force would enemy soldiers while they invade foreign countries, murdering and silencing all opposition. All you have to do is research the history of the Roman Catholic Church, all its religious wars, its genocides, its torture chambers, its inquisition, its burning people at the stake, its silencing thinkers and artists. These are not normal activities of a church or a spiritual organization. The Roman Catholic Church is terrified of being exposed for what it is, a satanic military cult that works with aliens that they refer to as gods, spirits, or demons. So in America today, we are losing more and more of our freedoms as the Roman Catholic Church assumes more and more control of our country. They do most of this through large corporations and banks that they control. In turn, these large and powerful corporations buy out the smaller corporations or put them out of business. This is called monopolies. Part of what made America so great, strong, and free for so long is that our founders knew a little about how the Roman Catholic Church ran the old world of Europe. In the old world, the Vatican had full control of the banks, which loaned money to the royal houses. The royal houses were the old world governments. That is why the founders of America said there should be a division between Catholic Church and government. or as they said it, a division between church and state. America's first leaders also warned us against monopolies and large foreign banks called central banks, because this is how the Vatican controlled the old world. The Vatican made 1% of the population extremely rich by loaning money to these royal houses while keeping the rest of you landless peasants. And this is happening again in America. We are being regressed back into medieval times as a population of people with no rights, while all power is being given to a small governing class. Like every empire before us, the Vatican does essentially the same thing. They promote a rich 1% in the government. They become the new royal class. The Vatican promote a rich 1% in corporation. They become the monopoly men. The Vatican promotes a rich 1% in media. They become the liars and fakers to tell you everything is good. And last, the Vatican promotes a huge military force, the Royal Guard. And that's to keep you peasants in line while your country goes bankrupt, you are starved out, and your government and military is used as a tool of the Vatican to further their world domination until it exhausts your every resource. Then the Vatican skates out of the deal with all the money and power they made off of controlling your country while you take the fall and go bankrupt. Then what does the Vatican do? The Vatican then hides behind another world power, offers the next government strong central banks with unlimited credit lines. The Vatican offers them powerful ties to trade routes, corporations, and industry worldwide. So we have this giant military force being formed in America. Every time I turn on the TV, I see this military corporation hiring a few good men. Yet once you join the military, you find that it is a very dangerous corporation to be a part of. This is a corporation where you have no rights. You can't resign. The military takes complete control of where you live, your medical treatment. They take control of your family. They could even beat your ass and throw you in jail if you get caught talking when you aren't supposed to. So the military corporation is less a corporation and more like a prison where you undergo mind control. Furthermore, the military involves you in dealings where you have to remain silent about everything you do, which are sometimes criminal acts, otherwise you can be imprisoned. This is how the Vatican has taken over so many countries by first taking over the government, then merging private banks and corporations with your government. Then it's very easy for them to hijack control of your military where there is no election process or individual rights. In the military, you are no longer a citizen or a civilian of any country where you are entitled to certain rights. So the American soldier becomes a prisoner of the American military system, where they have to blindly follow orders or face prison time or death. This is why the military owns a wide range of military prisons and produces the largest amount of employee casualties than any other corporation. So in other words, it's real easy for the military to kill you and then tell others their version of how you died. It's also very easy for the Vatican to take over the military after manipulating the only place you, the American citizen, had a chance for freedom, by taking over a government for the people and by the people and replacing it with a government for the corporation and by the corporation. So let's talk about the true face of monopolies in relation to the military takeover of cities and towns. Monopolies don't only exist to make certain people extremely rich. Monopolies also exist to take away your individual freedoms. I will begin to explain how your corrupt federal government and military rely on monopolies to turn your country into a military police state where you have exactly no rights. For more information, I have discussed some of this before in videos entitled Military Towns and Predictive Programming Part 1, Military Experimentation with Gray Technology and the Invasion of Rural America Part 1 and Part 2, and CIA Kills Jobs Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. They are a must-see to understand the situation completely and can be found on this channel. Yet the military has always conducted operations where they practiced the takeover of certain cities and towns in America. And they always say they do this in the event of an emergency. A few of these operations were exposed on the internet, where the military had drills taking over towns, and the drills focused on the military going house to house to search for dissidents, taking control of the town's police, mayor's offices, and churches. Now the reality is that they are training the military to do this on a large scale for the military police takeover of America. Of course, they're going to tell the military guys that these drills are in the event of an emergency, because that sounds good. And they definitely can't tell the soldiers that they are practicing this so they could help international corporations hijack control of America and eliminate everyone's rights like the Nazis did in Germany, because it sounds so much better to say search and rescue, or clean and sweep, or protect and serve, than it does to say hunt and kill, plant bombs and detonate, or rape and torture. So I've gotten a taste of these military-controlled towns and the military police takeover of America firsthand a little sooner than most of you. So let me describe from the inside what the military consider an emergency, where they have to roll into town, take over the police, the mayor's office, and basically everything else too. An emergency for the military these days is someone practicing freedom of speech and freedom of press on the internet. For example, someone who is not in their monopoly of media control actually thinking he has a right to freedom of speech and press. That is a big-time emergency for the pedophile serial killers that run today's military and federal government. And if that person practicing freedom of speech knows something about illegal, criminal, and treasonous military operations and is talking about it on the internet, that is considered a big-time emergency for the military, so they will all show up in herds of military cattle and begin to take over the city or town where such human rights dissidents live. So yes, the military poses police officers. They pose as firefighters. They obviously flash a badge and outrank whatever local politician who is in the area. But let me tell you from the inside what other establishments the military insist on taking over and for what reason. The military will take over all grocery stores to control all food and water. That's a must. The military will take over all banks, radio stations, and newspapers. That's a given. The military will also take over all large businesses in the area like Walmarts, Costco's, Home Depots, gas stations, and auto dealerships because they want to control all supplies and business dealings. So what you will begin to see is that these regimented military goons have replaced all the regular townspeople, clerks, and store workers. And at that point, you aren't dealing with any type of individual with any morality or business ethics, decency, or standards. You are now dealing with the military personnel who lack any human conduct whatsoever. You are now dealing with the machine. You are now dealing with a military hierarchy who does not respond to anything other than their chain of command. And since they have a monopoly control of all businesses in the area, you have lost all your rights, not only as a consumer, but your rights as citizens of the United States of America.